What's up, everybody? Big Blue Power Hour. How you doing, Evan?
I'm doing good.
We are 1 week from the NFL draft. Well, 6 days.
Happy for it. Feels like we've been talking about the draft for a long time.
Happy 4th.
Say it again?
Yes, we were.
Well, we've been talking about it for a very long time. I'm excited. I did a couple mock drafts, as did Dan. One of them I got shit on, which I'm not happy about, Mr. Dan. Can you hear me, Dan?
Yeah. We're having some
So,
technical difficulties. I hear an echo, Evan.
go ahead. Can you hear me?
I hear an echo.
How about now?
Hold on. All right, there we go. All
Okay,
right.
cool. Well, okay. I'm glad that
Apologies.
fixed it.
Apologies. What's up, Bo? What's going on? What's going on, everybody?
What's up,
Sorry
guys?
about that.
Like I said, we've been talking about the draft for a while. We both did some. We've been sending each other draft back and forth every day.
Mocks are mocks, though. I mean, you can only tell so much from a mock.
Oh,
But
yeah.
the first like couple of picks are really like kind of easy. You can kind of guess the top five. When we're going further into a draft, you just never know
It's
who's going to get
it's
taken and
also
stuff.
it's also hard with the
What's up,
computer.
Lucky Days? What's going on, man? Welcome to the stream. Big Blue
Welcome to
Power
the
Hour
stream.
talking New York Giants draft. Go ahead, Evan.
It's hard when you do a simulator. They kind of throw unrealistic options at you sometimes.
Yeah,
I
you did one of those. Yeah.
oh yeah, I do. But I did one for fun that was really unrealistic. But like sometimes like you have to restart your draft so many times because we know Cam Ward's going first or Abdul Carter. They're going to be the number one or number two pick, obviously.
Abdul Carter definitely go number one. I'd be pissed if that
Yeah,
happens. But I think it's going to be
but
Ward. It's a
you know,
consensus.
Tep McMillan, wide receiver from Arizona, he's not
Yeah.
going number one. And
Oh,
I had a
no.
draft where he
No.
went number one. I had a draft where Ashton
That makes no
Gibson went
sense.
number one.
Yeah, that
And I
makes
was
no
like, that's
sense.
just not going
No.
to happen.
I had draft where Shadur Sanders went number one in a mock draft. Like, nah. That'd be
Steve, and
shocking.
one thing I want to bring up
And
to
I
you
passed
was,
on Ward and took Abdul Carter in that mock draft.
all right, I wanted to ask you, with the Giants bringing in Shador for the last private workout, are you sold that that's their guy? They're taking him.
No, I don't think that's their guy. I think Carter's their guy. I think a lot of people in New York Giants media, thinking, fans, that type of stuff, think that Carter's the guy. And I think it's the obvious pick if he's there at number three, if the Browns don't take him or the Tennessee Titans don't take him.
Okay,
So
so this is just my thought on it.
realistically, I think Ward's going number one, but Travis Hunter can go with the Browns.
Definitely can.
Now that's a possibility. I would be happy with Travis Hunter, but Carter's the guy I think they need. I think it's the guy that they want. I think it's the guy that they should pick,
My
without a
thoughts
doubt.
on it are, I think the Giants put this out, and we've known where Shador wanted to go all along. There's only
Yeah.
a few spots he wanted to go, Cleveland not being one of them. So I wouldn't put it past Dion to have him sabotage a few interviews at the combine
Possibly.
to get where he's going if
Who
he's
knows?
sure they're going to pick him at number one.
Yeah.
Or pick. So the only team that he hasn't really died down on charts on is the Giants. So I believe with all the attention they put into him, all the negative publicity, that was just to secure the Giants pick at 3.
Maybe it could be a smokescreen as well. A
Because
lot
with
of people have been
everybody
saying
having
that.
him drop on their board,
Yep.
that means nobody's going to move up ahead to 2 and pick
Not to take
him,
him, no.
not to take him. Now they're comfortable sitting back and waiting, and it lets him fall right into the Giants' hands, which they don't have to move up to
What's up, Eileen?
or move.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think the Giants are in a perfect position.
Yeah,
Obviously, we love the number 1 or 2 pick. A lot of people were complaining about that. Before we got Winston and Wilson, we had those semblance of a quarterback room.
yeah.
I was all for taking a quarterback, Ward or Sanders. But now I think it would be a wasted pick at number 3. It just really would. And I was thinking, well, I'd be okay with Sanders at 3, but you're passing on a Abdul Carter if he's there or Travis Hunter, who's an automatic starter and an impact player. Shedeur Sanders might not play a down for us. So
And I've
why
become
why
really
why
fond
would
of
we do that? You know what I'm saying?
if you don't want to go with like you say Abdul's going at 2 and you're not comfortable with taking Shedeur at 3.
Yeah.
A lot of teams do want to move up for Ashton Jeanty, which I'll get into in a minute. But
I move down 1 or 2 spots at most if I'm doing that. If I
yeah,
can guarantee I'm getting the player that I
I
want.
really like
It's the only way I would do it.
I really like Graham from Michigan.
Oh, Mason
That
Graham
dude,
is an awesome prospect. The
you
defensive
play him
line,
next to Dexter Lawrence.
yeah,
I know Abdul Carter coming
it'd be
off the edge
tough.
is cool, but having that run stop, which we have been
Oh,
horrible
their
in,
run was awful absolutely awful. Their run defense was terrible.
but
It's
putting
been a
that big
problem
boy
for them.
next to Dex, you now have the best defensive line in the league.
Yep.
And you go back to the Super Bowl teams we had 4 or 5 guys that could just go constantly.
Well, if you
Go
think
after
about
that
it,
quarterback.
if you think about
You
it,
don't have to
go
win
ahead.
games, 30 to 35 anymore. Now you can win games 21-7, 20 to 10 because that defensive line is just going to shut them down.
Yeah,
And
the
with
run
him, I
defense
see
needs
it.
help. Yeah, Graham would be a great pick. I'd be happy with that.
Yeah, I would
Honestly, I
too.
think the Giants. Go ahead.
I agree. I was agreeing. Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, I think that the Giants are going to stay at 3,
Mm-hmm.
but you could have a situation where I know it's crazy, but what if Carter and Hunter go 1 and 2, and Ward is sitting there? I might take Mason Graham instead. Then I might trade down if I'm not taking a quarterback. Like say the Giants have eliminated any possibility, no matter what, especially early, in that top of the draft there. Then it makes sense to trade down. You make someone trade up to that pick to get that quarterback. You might be able to get an extra pick. The Patriots will stay where they are, but I'm looking at a team like the Raiders, but the Jags also don't need a quarterback either. So they're not going to take one as well. I think Mason Graham could go there. But I really think the Giants should stay where they are and just take Abdul Carter, take the best player available. Carter, Hunter, or Mason Graham. And one of the 3 I'd be happy with.
Over the Jags. Why wouldn't they go receiver and match
him
up with the
They might take McMillan at 5. Yeah,
that makes more sense to me. Or, even because they have Travis Etienne there, so they have a running back. Get more star power on that offense. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know why they would I don't see why they wouldn't do that.
Because he's an awesome prospect. That's the only reason I could think. The Raiders are going to need a Gianti or a Sanders, but I think it's going to be Gianti. And I think that's going to be the pick for them. But I'm excited for the draft, and I don't think they should take a quarterback at all. And if I'm taking a quarterback, it's going to be late in this draft, if anything.
I've always grown on Milroe.
Sense.
I thought Milroe could be the guy for the Giants long term.
Possibly. I like Milroe. I like his skill set. But like I said, if you take Milroe, he's not going to play it down.
He's not. And that's the thing.
You know what I'm saying?
I'm happy giving up
a wasted pick, in my opinion. If it's in the 3rd round, if it's like 99, not 65, but if it's like 99, if it's like in the 3rd round, later in the draft or something like that, then I'd be okay with it. 4th round, I'd be all right with it. But early, I think you need to have other needs. And Wilson is good enough, to be consistent at the quarterback position this coming season. So you don't need to worry about quarterback play necessarily, because it should be way better than it was.
If
so
it
that
is, I
really
just want something to look forward to, because this quarterback draft is a little bit deeper than next year's. In my opinion,
maybe
I've heard it both ways.
I don't even know.
That next year will be more. I just seen a lot more of these guys play than I have of next year's guys. Besides Arch, really, I've seen these guys play a little bit more, and I like I said, Jalen Milroe, he was coming off of the post Saban era. Didn't really know, but he still played well, and he's got a lot of tangibles that are teachable. He's got a good arm. He just needs better, things that are teachable. Better reading of defenses, not rolling out so much more, a little bit more on the physical side of the ball. He can get that taught to him.
Yeah.
But you can't replace that big arm. And what I don't like about I like Jackson Dart, but then somebody made up a good point about him. If you watch him play in his big wins, he's another Zach Wilson.
I don't
He
know
plays almost exactly like him.
I like Jackson Dart. I like his skill set, but like I said, it really depends. I think he's going to have to go to the right team.
Yeah.
To be successful, and sometimes that's what it's about. But for us, there could be a chance the Giants don't take a quarterback at all. It's quite possible this season. You just roll with Wilson for this season and next. It makes sense.
Well, if they do, because you know this is going to happen. If they do take Sanders, most likely which call is cut.
Winston, yeah. I mean, if I'm taking Sanders, he's gonna be the backup. Like I'm not sticking him on a practice squad. I'm not dressing 3 quarterbacks. I'm going to be.
I would dress 3 quarterbacks. And the only reason I say that is I would dress 3 quarterbacks because of how much we went through the last 2 years. If we've went through 4 quarterbacks, last year alone.
Well, you have an emergency quarterback, I guess.
Yeah, you know what I mean. So I
because they do have that now.
Cut, and you stick a clipboard to the kid, and you just let him learn, and because I don't want the kid getting shell shocked, but one of the drafts I did, I went really heavy on offensive line.
Offensive line makes sense, and then with as many issues as the Giants have had with injuries on the offensive line, like how many injuries have we had to Thomas? It's always
one of the guys
an injury somewhere. Guard is always, and then when we fall back on that depth, it's not there.
Two of the guys that I've seen play, and me being in the Louisiana area, from the tri-state area originally, but being in Louisiana now, I get a lot of these LSU guys
Membu.
that, Emery Jr.
It's Emery. There's Will Campbell down there. There's Kevin Banks. There's Membu goes to Missouri.
He popped up my screen. I've taken him in about 2 or 3 drafts, just because his size and his his movement way faster than Evan Neal.
He'd be a later pick, though, right?
Huh?
He'd be a later pick.
Yeah.
Second round, third round, something like that. Yeah.
But when I'm, Fairchild from Ohio State, a guard, mostly plays center, but he can be also a guard.
Yeah, we definitely you always need depth. You always should be drafting offensive line every draft.
And that's one of the things that I seen Gettleman try to do. He went out, got Matt Pert, Shane Lemieux, and a few other guys. None of them worked out.
None.
None of them. But he still went and at least put the draft capital in the trying to build
you try at least. I mean, you also got the Embo from Purdue, the guard.
Yeah.
Is it Savianaya from Arizona? The guard. I like Charles Grant later in the draft. Tyler Booker is probably the best guard, but taking a couple offensive linemen would be a smart move, especially considering the history the Giants have on the offensive line, where we have 10 different offensive line units per season, which is wild to think about, Like no consistency in that unit at all.
So, Dan, starting with our mock draft, do you want to start with yours?
I mean, I did a couple mock drafts.
Go ahead, start with one. Let's hear it. Let's hear your thoughts behind it.
Yeah, but like I said, you can only tell so much from mock drafts, but it's worth doing. It's a fun thing to do. Yeah, I wasn't doing all 7 rounds though, but I kind of like this drive. I did Abdul Carter.
Yeah, obvious.
At 3. Akbuka. at
Okay.
34.
Ohio
But
State.
I've also taken running back at 34 in a bunch of mock drafts. I think picking a running back might be smart. And I took Judkins, the running back from Ohio State.
Okay.
I like Trevion Henderson better, but he wasn't there. I took Charles Grant in 99, interior offensive lineman William and Mary. Another quarterback, Denzel Burke, and I took Kyle McCord in the 5th round. This is just a
All right.
5-round mock
Tell me
draft.
about that McCord pick. Why'd you pick him?
I like Kyle McCord because I think he's an underrated player, and a lot of people have been saying so. And he had just a good season as Cam Ward had in the same conference. And I think that, I think he's smart. I think he's talented. He doesn't have the biggest arm, but I like a guy like Kyle McCord late, and that's a guy you could develop, who has good size, a good skill set. Could run the ball a little bit, and I just like him. I think he's an underrated player. But I want a Tyler Shuck? Absolutely not. I don't want anywhere near that guy. He's not as good as people think. He's just got a big arm, and that's it. He's not a good prospect at all. But that's
All right.
if they take a quarterback.
This is one where this is the same thing as you said right there. I didn't take a quarterback at all in this draft.
It doesn't make much sense to me, to be honest. It just doesn't.
I did Abdul Carter, number 1. First pick, I meant. Number 3. 34, Josh Conley Jr., Oregon, tackle.
That's a real good pick. He's a good tackle, and we always have a problem on tackle. You're going to need a tackle in the future. Luminor's not going to be your guy, forever.
Then get Dex a little bit of help. I did DJ Sanders from South Carolina. Big boy, really good against the run stop. That's one thing.
Putting someone next to Dex is important to improve that run defense, like we were talking about. It was so bad last season.
So, yeah, and it's been horrible the last 3 years, no matter what we've done to stop it. Here's where I was coming in at 99, Emory Jones, offensive tackle, LSU. I don't care with Andrew Thomas being injured. I don't want guards playing tackle. I want tackles.
You want an actual tackle to step in there and someone with some talent at least.
Like, there's a difference between offensive guard and offensive tackle. It's usually about 2 to 3 inches in height, and it's longer wingspan.
Yep. Those short arms. You don't like those guys with short arms. Remember Flowers? His arms are short. Look out.
I'm also centering up the middle too. I'm gonna do Dylan Fairchild from Georgia.
Yeah, I'm concerned about you talking about center.
Well, I want to give JMS a little bit more playing time. Like, he's got to pick it up.
I'm telling you, like, JMS got to pick it up, man. Like he did not have a very good second season. He had some good games, but man, he is not what I thought he was, and I'm a little concerned about him. So getting some depth at the position might make some sense. I'm definitely concerned about him.
154, Ryan Mills, defensive tackle, Notre Dame, just to get some depth and like a rollout piece for our guys. 219, Missouri's Johnny Walker. If you've seen him the first half of the season, really explosive, big guy. I've seen him play against Ole Miss a few times. That game against Alabama, he played very well. So I really enjoyed that game. And at 246, I picked Shiloh Sanders. Not against the Sanders name, but he had a bad combine and a bad workout. But if you watch the tape, he's not really there for the picks, but he can bring up a pass.
Yeah, so, sorry about
that. Being a 7th-round pick for Shiloh Sanders, I don't think that's a bad pick at all.
Yeah, like when you're getting into the 6th, 7th round, like when I get in the mock drafts, I'm like, there's so many players. I'm like who do you pick? You just want to get a value pick at that, later in the draft. But I think if you could not, but they have, 5 picks in the first 105, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
So hopefully you should be able to get 3 really good players out of that with your first 3
and then
picks.
You score maybe on like 2 actual solid, like if you get 3 good players and 2 solid players, you've won the draft.
Yeah. I mean, I just want a solid draft, and you could develop your talent later. And but getting out to Carter would be awesome in this draft.
Teams like right now, like look at the teams on the back end, like who need help. Like I don't see that in the Little division. Dallas is naive enough to think that they're only one piece away. So they're going to go out and get a star
Yeah.
player to help on the offense. Washington's going to shore up their defense, maybe get another explosive piece on offensive guard, better a little bit better to help on the tackle situation. That's what they're going to do. The Eagles are going to build for the next 2 to 3 years, so they don't have to pay nobody.
Well, like
They're
always,
probably
they're
going to go out
smart.
and grab a right tackle because Johnson's on his way out. You know, he's about to retire soon. It may be his last year. So, you know, you might – they're building for the next 2 to 3 years because Howie Roseman, he likes to stay competitive. He's now picking for 2 to 3 years in advance.
And the Eagles have 20 picks.
Yeah, exactly. So he's going to pick
I mean, that's
so
what we
many.
did, but whatever.
He's going to pick the best
Yeah.
players available for him.
Yeah, let me get to a comment here. Paul says, you need that slot receiver, Restrepo. Oh, Wendell Robinson's our slot guy. We don't need a slot guy. We just need another weapon.
Yeah.
Because Robinson's that guy. But I like Restrepo. Like Restrepo, later in the draft, I would pick him if he was there. I think that would be a solid pick for the Giants.
Well, that's where
absolutely.
I love what you said about getting another running back. I love.
Yeah, Tracy's not going to be the guy. And Gray I like, and Singletary I like, but you need like a solid talent at the position.
I want to go young. I like that. There's one thing I love Shane what he's doing. He's going younger.
That's what I do like. Yes, well, with Holland, you're going young. With Adebo, you're going younger.
Yeah.
So you know you're still a young team, and then you still have Newman and Phillips and Tracy and obviously Neighbors.
I like
Theo Johnson.
Tracy, and the thing is though, Tyrone Tracy is really picking up the running back position since he's come from receiver. It's only his second year. He
doesn't have miles. He doesn't have miles on his legs at the running back position.
Yeah.
So he's got some life left
later.
There.
If you have a running back now that already has miles and can pick it up, what you can make is make Tracy into a like Shane Vereen kind of type where he was more of a fifth option pass guy, you know. But once he starts getting those legs for running, then you can option him back, which I think Amarion Hampton or
I like Amarion Hampton. I like Trevion Henderson. I like Cam Scatterbo.
I like Junkins. The thing about Scatterbo is he's small and bulky. I really like
and he's extremely athletic. He's got like a 39-inch vert.
Yeah.
What I like about Scatterbo is the type of runner he is. I like his style of running, and he's tough to take down.
Yeah.
You know, and he's got a good amount of talent. He's more talented than people think. Getting him late, Cam Scatterbo, I would be all for. To be honest, because frankly, the Giants need to score more offense. Their offense has been absolutely brutal. So any weapon that I could get that's going to help me, help my quarterback, help Wilson, and establish the run game is so key and important for this team.
You know,
if they can't score, hold on. If they can't score points, they're screwed.
Yeah.
No matter how talented their defense is. And if they can't score points this next season, then I don't know what to say. But we'll worry about that then.
With me taking a lot of offensive tackle and a lot of offensive guard in this,
it makes sense.
Like it's because Andrew Thomas being injured. I love Andrew Thomas. He's the anchor to that offensive line. I love the dude. I really do.
Can't stay healthy.
He can't stay healthy, and I'm at the point now is if he keeps getting hurt the way he is. He's still young enough to send out and get a second-round pick for him.
Yep.
So I wouldn't be surprised if he's a trade target this year.
Not this year. Next season.
I wouldn't be surprised if this year.
I think he's a target for other teams, but I think I want to see if he can last the whole season because he's such a talented player. Yeah. So he is a player I would think that they're going to move, but his injuries do concern me. Let's get to a couple comments here.
Sure.
Is there a player you wish they would stay away from? Eileen says.
Stay away from? You know what? I don't think we need much safety help, but like I'm up for anything really. Like with the number 3 pick, I don't want them to take. Like this is why I said what I've been saying.
Carter or Hunter, I think should be the 3rd pick. One or the other.
Yeah,
one of the two, depending which one's there.
If both are there, I think you should take the number 3 pick. It's really hard to lose with the number 3 pick because
They're in a great
If you
position.
go and get your quarterback for the future, I understand it. If you get Abdul
I
Carter,
get it.
I understand it. If you go get, Mason Graham, I understand it. You get Will Howard, I understand it.
You get Will Howard late too. You don't even got
The
to take him
top
early.
5 prospects all fit or the top 5 of our prospects, they all fit for some reason. All of them fit within the Giants. Only thing like Ashton Genty, I don't see it, but you think he's that special? Maybe, I don't know.
He is an absolute. He is unreal, man. His athletic
You know what I
skill.
mean? So
But we'll see how he
maybe.
is. Where he
So
goes.
I don't see the Giants losing in round 1. I see them losing this draft in 2, 3, 4, and
2 and
5.
3. Yeah,
That's where they lose.
pick 34, 65, and 99. I think those 3 picks you gotta have some really solid picks there.
Yeah.
Because like you said, you want to get at least 2 or 3, at least 2 starters, and at least the next player to be good and either contribute or be solid, and then some talent you can develop later on. Because as you get later in the draft, your value picks are important.
Really, what the if you've seen it, like you go back in the day, your rounds 1 or 2 were kind of guaranteed to be good starters. You weren't always good after the first round.
You can find starters like late 2nd, 3rd round.
You now have a great chance to find somebody
5th round
within the first 4 rounds.
Yes, you do.
There's so many more good
you do your
players coming
homework.
out. I wouldn't be surprised if they expand the draft to 10 rounds. Like, I really wouldn't, because there's coming out so many good players in later rounds. It's now hitting more and more.
But like I said, like we'll say, like here's this scenario. Say Hunter, say Carter and Hunter go 1st and 2nd, which is unrealistic.
Yeah.
What about someone like Shamar Stewart at 34? He's really good, but I think he'd be gone. Or like Odaladejo from UCLA. Maybe get another pass rusher. Later in the draft. But I don't think that's going to happen. It's going to be Ward number 1.
One thing I say about Abdul Carter is
a couple comments after this. After you make your this comment.
If we get Abdul Carter, make a move for Thibodeau, because I do not.
I've thought about that.
I don't want them sharing.
Crazy as it sounds, I have thought about trading him on during the draft.
And say,
as crazy as that sounds, I know it sounds crazy.
Say, hold on, get this. Say, we get Abdul Carter, we package him to, the Jets or somebody else to get back up into 10. You may have lose some picks.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That would be a masterclass, but I think they'd rather keep Thibodeau because he's only played 2 seasons. It's just something I've thought of periodically. What if they made a move that if they wanted to move up for somebody or something like that? Let's get to a couple comments, but go ahead. But to answer that question, I can't say there's a player they should stay away from necessarily. But you don't want to screw up a pick, especially early in your first 4 or 5 picks. The later round picks, I'm not as concerned because they're 5th, 6th, 7th round picks.
Yeah.
You just don't know what to expect from those guys. You could find a diamond in the rough, but who knows? Here's another comment on. Paul Spencer's 1 piece away. You're crazy. We have holes: left tackle, wide receiver, defensive end, right back, and safety. And they may have more holes than us. As crazy as that sounds, we just had no quarterback.
They said,
it all
depends on how quarterback play is this year. How offensive line. It really starts with the offensive line. How the offensive line holds up this year is how the quarterback play is going to be this year.
Yep, and if Dak don't get hurt for the Cowboys, but that's all I'm going to say about the Cowboys. We'll see how their draft goes.
Yeah.
But with Dak, they should be They should not be under 500 with Dak as a starter. Trevion Henderson, I like Caleb Johnson too, from Iowa. I like Scottaboo. I like Omarion Hampton. I like Judkins. There's some solid running backs out there. I think the Giants do need another running back. It would make a lot of sense. Paul Smith-Scottaboo is a true 3rd down back, a real lunch pail running back. That's why I like him. And he seems durable to me, but he's got a good amount of miles on him. That's the only thing I'm really
He was
concerned
a
with.
what?
More
3-year
comment.
starter?
5th round gem, Deron Bland, Fresno State cornerback. Could never have enough cornerbacks if you're the Giants.
Yeah.
So
Well, I think last year
don't know what
we were,
I don't know if
6
Banks is going to turn it
quarterbacks?
around because Deontay Banks can't turn his head around, and he had a bad season last season.
Yeah.
That's why the Debo move makes sense. I'm just glad we actually have a respectable quarterback playing the position this coming season, rather than absolute crap.
All right.
For
So
once.
since Paul, the Cowboys fan, commented, can I explain my outrageous draft that I did?
Yeah, explain your retarded draft.
Yes.
And
Okay.
everyone laugh at Evan.
This is just, you know how the draft, what do you call it? The draft simulator
Would never
works.
happen.
It throws you trades and stuff like that. Okay. So I was like, you know what? What if the Giants did move back? So I was offered for 3. Vegas gave me their 1st and 2nd. I said, fine. I moved back to 6. As 6 came up, Dallas offered from 12 to 6 to give me their 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and a 2nd next year.
Yeah, would never happen. But
I then moved back to 12.
Oh, because they want Gianti?
Say it again?
Because they want Gianti, the Cowboys.
Yes. Now, like I said, that was to move up to 6. Okay? So at 12, I took Kevin Banks Jr., offensive tackle from Texas.
He's a good player.
Okay? 34, Jalen Milroe. 37.
It doesn't make sense, but
37, he was on the board, so I took him. Kenneth Grant. Now, that was the Vegas pick.
The Milroe pick makes no sense, but whatever.
Shut up. Okay. 44, Josh Conley Jr. from Oregon.
That's a good
65.
pick. I don't think they'll take 2 tackles, but I think it's a good pick.
Kevin Winston Jr. from Penn State. And then we don't get a pick until 105. Of course,
there's the Penn State player, another one.
Dylan Fairchild from Georgia. And then 154 was Ryan Mills from Notre Dame.
Just watch out for his injury.
219, Jimmy Horn Jr. from Colorado.
Now that pick I would like.
Trevor Etienne. So that was like my outrageous.
Yeah, that's an outrageous draft. You know, I was doing a mock draft before, like I said, and Shedeur Sanders went number 1, and I would be floored if something like that happened.
Dude, but I had to keep. It was acting stupid today. I'll admit the draft simulator was acting dumb today. It had Ted McMillan.
It can only take so much.
It had Ted McMillan going 1, and then it had Ashton Jenkins going number 2. So I was like, "That's no way it's going to happen."
Yeah, but I do think. I mean, who knows? I know people think Ward's going to go number 1. I get the consensus is that Abdul Carter is such a great prospect, man. Like I said, but they need a quarterback. They may go for need rather than BPA because Ward's nowhere near a top 10 player in the draft overall.
No, but I see
makes sense for them though.
If I see anybody besides Ward going number 1, it's Travis Hunter.
Travis Hunter could go number 1 possibly. Yeah, Heisman Trophy winner. It's definitely possible.
I see him going number 1.
Hunter Carter or Ward.
I can see Abdul Carter going 2. But then at the Giants, that's when you go. Yeah. Like for me, I don't go and get the quarterback.
No,
I go and get Mason Graham.
I'm passing on the quarterback. Even if Shedeur Sanders and Ward are there, I'm passing on them.
Yeah, because
it's crazy. I know it sounds insane.
Because that now guarantees you for Jalen Milroe or Jackson Dart, whoever you want.
Because, like I said, I like a Kyle McCord late.
Come on, man.
What do you mean? Come on. Have you watched any film on him? No.
Yes, I've seen him play.
He's what?
He's a 5th rounder for a reason, man. I just don't.
I think he'll go before the 5th round, actually. To be honest, Dan Pullman, Ward, Carter, and Hunter go top 3. Yeah, that's what a lot. Yeah, I think it could be that also. The guy I want is Carter, Dan. That's the guy that I want. But if he's not there, Travis Hunter would be a good consolation prize, I would say. Jackson Dart will be the one to watch. Dan Pullman says, yeah, I like Jackson Dart. At
I'm kind of
34, I'm so like conflicted because I know the Giants are going to need a quarterback for the future. Obviously, Winston's not the guy, but if they do take a quarterback at 34, I'm getting rid of Winston. I think. I know you say keep 3, but I want that person as my backup to learn from Russell Wilson. He'll learn from it anyway because it's the quarterback room. I like Jackson Dart. I like Milroe. I do like Kyle McCord, even though Evan doesn't. You know, him and Ward were really good. Both of them were. Ward has a way better skill set though. So, but I'm interested to see what the Giants do at 34.
I'm going to take a quarterback in the
Very
5th
interested
and
to
6th
see.
round, then I'll take Dylan Gabriel. Be honest with you.
I like Dylan Gabriel, but I think he's too small. I like him, but I think he's too small.
He's got I think he's got the best spiral in the class. Like he's got the best, like one of the best deep balls for his size.
Yeah.
So like
I just think Kyle McCord's underrated.
Kyle Murray.
That's
Kyle
all.
Murray's 5'9".
Because I think Kyle McCord is just as good as Jackson Dart. Just as good.
I think Jackson Dart. See, I was sold on him for a little bit because I watched some of his gameplay. But as I looked into a deep dive last year, against good defenses, he didn't play well.
Who?
He didn't play great. And I heard a few people mention he's kind of like Zach Wilson.
Undefeated.
He beats up on lower talent.
Yeah.
Beating Georgia Southern isn't really a big thing when you're at Ole Miss.
Yeah, but I like Kyle McCord. I think he has better size, but I like Dart. I like McCord. I like Milroe. I like Sanders. I like Ward. I like all of them. Tyler Shuck, I do not want. I want no part of that guy. But I don't know. Dylan Gabriel I like, but I would take McCord over Gabriel because they're both right around the same.
I like Dylan Gabriel because he's left-handed. So I want to see the Giants go left-handed. That would be.
Give a shit if he's left-handed. I don't care.
I think the lefties need to come back, and that's coming from a right-handed person. The lefties need to come back into the NFL because you got to throw. It's gotta be different. You know what I mean? Like it's gonna be different for. It's different for everybody.
Yeah, everyone's got a different viewpoint, obviously, but I think some players are just a little underrated, based on their college career or whatever, and you just never know with some of these quarterbacks. There's going to be a few that you don't expect to be good. Like we expected what to think of Bo Nix. He had a really good rookie season.
I thought Bo Nix was going to be.
I like Bo Nix.
I thought the Giants should have.
I liked him a lot,
and I said that last year. I said I would not be displeased with Bo Nix.
Neighbors was an awesome
didn't want
pick,
him
though.
at 6.
No, I gotta take Neighbors at 6.
Yeah,
and it was the right pick.
Look, and going back to it, who's the number 1 receiver from last year?
Dan Pullman says, "Where do you see Will Howard going?" I'm gonna say.
Be honest with you, I can see him going as a backup, Carolina.
Oh no! Where do you see him going? I thought you said where, as in what team, or where he's going to be picked. Just to clarify. Thanks for checking us out, Dan. I was just wondering if you meant where, as in team, or position, like what number.
Well, I'll do both. 5th, 6th, 4th to 6th round, and I could depending on where the quarterback.
I say earlier than that.
If he doesn't he's going to be a backup, but he's going to be somebody whose quarterback has either been really bad.
Team.
I would say Colts, maybe 3rd round, if he's going to go high.
Colts might make sense.
Colts 3rd round if he's for a high pick. For a low pick, Panthers 5th, 6th round.
As a quarterback, Carolina doesn't. Arizona doesn't.
Maybe Pittsburgh's 3rd round if they don't go.
Maybe that would be a good place for him to go. I think. I mean, Vegas, if they take a quarterback late, they don't get a Shador Sanders, but Shador Sanders might be their guy.
You
I think
know,
it might be a Raider.
another one we haven't talked about. Quinn Ewers.
I like Quinn Ewers also. Late though.
The only problem is he's a little shell shocked in big games.
Yeah,
You know,
that's a
but you know,
concern. Like, I like Ewers' skill set. He's definitely a project. I think a McCord or a Howard's actually better than Ewers.
and then the only other one I see on here that's Riley Leonard, maybe for Notre Dame, iffy, but is Brady Cook. That's it. That's really the only one I can
I
see.
don't know what to think. I don't know what to think of Riley Leonard. I mean, I don't know what to think of. I don't know what I know he's not going to go. He's going to go very, very late if he goes anywhere.
Yep, obviously, yeah.
But I think sometimes it's worth taking a shot at a quarterback, especially if you want to develop a guy. If you're good with quarterbacks, good at developing the position, some organizations are really good at that stuff. But it's very to see where some of these guys will go, like a Will Howard and a McCord and a Dylan Gabriel, a Jalen Milroe, because there's definitely teams that need quarterbacks. It's just not necessarily a need for us at the moment. So that's why I say
I'll be
take one
honest.
late.
One of the guys I do hope they get. It's not Shamar Stewart, but Shamar Turner from Texas A&M.
Yeah,
He's one of the guys. Long arms, really would fit great right next to Dex. And I think that's one guy I hope they look after. But like I said, right now, we're just armchair GMs. We're obviously not in the league.
everybody's armchair GMs at this point.
But
all we want as fans is just them to be better. You just want them just to look like an actual professional football team.
All right, I want to tell you about this one draft I did see though. I don't know who it was. He needs to be fired, and he should never.
Some of the drafts are ridiculous.
He should never write a piece of NFL
Some of them are
fiction
insane.
like this was. He had a Abdul Carter going 2, Cam Ward going 1, and the Giants picking Jackson Dart at 3.
That would be. You want Giant fans to smash their TV and throw out the window.
Giants fans would fucking riot in the streets.
That would be.
And the thing is, though,
brutal. I doubt that highly.
Either the Giants are doing one of two things. Either they really want Shador, and the thing about Shador is he doesn't have a big arm, but that can be fixed. He doesn't have the rollout. He's a real pocket passer, so he's got to be able to roll out just a little bit.
I just don't think I would like it.
He's not always injured. He gets up. He is the most accurate quarterback with the worst offensive line.
Well, both of them are. Him and Ward were really good under pressure. I think Ward was a little bit better, but Sanders is good under pressure also. But I still think he needs to work on some stuff. I like his skill set. I like Sanders' skill set. But at 3, I can't say I would love that pick. Not if Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter is sitting there. I think that doesn't really make sense. Now, if they didn't have Russell Wilson, then I totally would see it happening. I would see a quarterback, but it would be Sanders
going into it.
But it would be Sanders at 3, not Dart, if we didn't have Russell Wilson. Then I'd really be thinking, well, we're taking a quarterback. But not now.
The only reason I say I don't care about because they're all short term. Russ is for what, a year? We have him for a year?
A year or 2 max.
Okay. Look at what the QBs that had time. Okay, I want to give him time.
Jordan Love?
Jordan Love had time. It's not. Yeah, you want to play first year? I get it. Fine. I'm not trying to tell
what's going to happen.
Because if he goes to, I'll tell you now, he goes to fucking Ward is going to get trampled in Tennessee.
Tennessee does not have the worst offensive line. They gave up like 35 sacks all year last year.
But he
believe it or not,
weapons though.
Oh, they can get a weapon later in the draft. But I think receiver is something that they definitely need in Tennessee.
That's another one. He's gonna get trampled there too.
Yeah, if you are a quarterback, if you're a Sanders, a Ward, any quarterback coming into the NFL, how many times have we said your situation matters? How are your coaches? How are they with quarterbacks? Can they develop them well? Is your offensive line solid? Is it a solid scheme? Are you trying to fit a square into a round peg, into a round hole? You can't do that, can you? So you have to really be smart about it, and where these guys go is going to make a big difference
So if they
to their
pick
development and
if they pick
how
Shedeur
their
Sanders,
careers
right?
go.
Are you buying a jersey?
Not necessarily, no.
Well, I know Abdul Carter. I know what number he's going to be wearing. He's supposed to
If
be
it's
picked
Abdul
number
Carter,
56.
yeah, I would buy a jersey because Abdul Carter is the guy that I want. Yeah, I know he's got a stress fracture, but man, he looks like an absolute monster on the outside, man. Like, it's a player you can't pass up on. That's a generational talent. And Joe Shea was talking about earlier in the week at the press conference before the draft that we want a generational type player. And to me,
Now,
that's
okay,
a Hunter or a Carter. It's somewhere something like that.
if they do take
Makes
Carter,
sense.
if they take Carter and
I'd be
Shedeur goes
ecstatic.
somewhere else, do
Raiders?
you think they get fired if Shedeur shows out?
No, because it depends on their performance as a team themselves. What does it matter if Shedeur Sanders plays well or not? If the Giants are winning, who cares? If they're winning, I don't give a crap. I don't care because they have so many other holes and need to improve in so many other areas that's not really my concern. Well, if they pass on Sanders, if he ends up working out, you know, uh, yeah, I get it, but I'm not really going to worry about that, to be honest. I'm just not, because that's really a question. I can't say. But if he does not go 1, 2, or 3, um, he'll go 6 to the Raiders. Hold on one second. Comment. You need a solid offense to keep your quarterback upright and get the ball to your weapons. Without that, your quarterback is in trouble no matter who it is. Do you mean offensive line, Michael? I assume that's what he means.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, offensive line makes sense. That's why in this draft, I think addressing interior and tackle would make sense for the Giants, especially at like 65 and 99, or even 34 if they feel a need to do that. If a certain players they think is going to be is there that they didn't think was going to be there, it's on their board. So
Yeah,
I just
I
wanted you to
agree.
clarify, Michael. I think he means offensive line.
Yeah. It wins in the trenches. But say like a few of my mock drafts I've done myself, I said I don't mind going from 2 to 5, grabbing offensive linemen, or 2 to 6,
If I'm
grabbing at
getting
least
the
2 to
player
3
I
offensive
want,
linemen.
if I'm getting the player that I want, then yes. But I really don't think they're going to budge. They're going to stay where they're at 3 and see what falls to them. And a lot of people feel it's going to be Carter. That's Carter or Hunter I'd be happy with, but I think most fans, most Giant fans, most people near Giants world want Abdul Carter, especially at 3.
One thing I would do, if we say we pick up 1 or 2, whoever's not drafted that were projected to be drafted, I would take every one of their names down and bring them in as undrafted free agents, give them a
Well, yeah,
test.
you always want to take hit that UDFA pool, and you can find some players out of that pool.
Yeah, whatever. Like that's the one thing I want to see is that even if we go 7 rounds, 8 rounds, 9 rounds, well, 7, 8, 9 picks, whatever it is.
Yeah,
I think we have 10 picks overall. If we can do, if we have 10 players coming in that are solid and we can work with them, I want to see what they didn't get in the draft and in the UDFA pool.
yeah.
You know what I mean? I want to see them go there and like one thing I'm looking for offensive line, I'm looking for size. Dude, have you seen the Eagles' fucking offensive line? They're all like 6'6" and above.
Yeah, they have done the Eagles have done such an outstanding job building that offensive line. It is absolutely wild. They got like 20 more picks, so they're gonna keep just doing keep using the same formula and improve the offensive line. And for us, especially, like I said at the beginning of the stream, as many injuries as they had on the offensive line, it makes sense to take a couple of them, especially at guard and tackle. Makes perfect sense.
It's like I said, we don't lose this. It's so hard to lose this first
It's a
pick.
win-win situation where you're sitting at 3.
Yeah,
You
so
have plenty of options.
We're not forcing anything. We're not forcing to take. Even if we take best player available, it's going to work out for us.
Yeah, I think so. I think if you take Carr, it's going to work out. I think if you take Hunter, it's going to work out. I think if you took Mason Graham, it's going to work out. But I don't see them trading. It really wouldn't make much sense unless it was like a Travis Hunter and Carter go first too.
Cowboys, getting first, second, and third round picks, huh?
Yeah, right.
Oh, shit.
But who knows? It could be Ward and Sanders, 1 and 2.
Then you take Abdul Carter, and I feel
could
good.
Be Ward and Sanders. If Sanders doesn't go to the Browns, I think he'll go to the Raiders or the Jets if he gets there.
See, I don't see the Raiders taking Shedeur. And
Gianti's probably the guy. If you're going to tell me I got Shedeur Sanders and Gianti, I'm probably going to take Gianti and then wait till later to possibly take a quarterback. But the Jets could very possibly get Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah,
I think it's possible. And it's New York City.
New
York market is what they want. It's the biggest market in the country. So, like I said, we'll see what happens. I'm very excited for the draft, more so than in previous years, because in previous years we had no one to play quarterback position that at a consistent rate, and now we actually have someone that can play the position. I think that I think that's exciting, to be honest. I know people didn't want Wilson or anything like that, but I like Wilson. Hold on. What record do you see the Giants going? I said 8-9. That's optimistic. But 7-10, I think. 8-9. I know it sounds crazy, but their quarterback play was so bad, Dan Pullman. It was so bad, so mediocre. They had no chance to win like any games last year. And Russell Wilson, that's a 180 from that. Russell Wilson is miles better than anything we have and capable of scoring offense, especially with someone like Neighbors. And especially we could add another weapon. But I'd say that's very optimistic. But I don't see them having only 3 wins with Russell Wilson. With adding Holland, adding Adebo, if they stay healthy, I think is the big question mark, especially their offensive line. Are they going to be above 500? No, I don't think so. How is Russell Wilson going to be running for his life with your offensive line? He's not Jones, DeVito, or Locke. Now, I think some people are underestimating Russell Wilson and what he could do for this team. And I don't give a crap about last year.
And people forget the line.
I don't care about last year.
The line was holding up pretty well until we lost Andrew Thomas.
Until they got injured. So you're telling me that they're going to be as bad as they were last year with Russell Wilson compared to Daniel Jones, DeVito, and Locke? That doesn't make any logical sense to me.
If we had Russell Wilson last year, we win the first Dallas game.
I get what he's saying, though. The offensive line has been rough, but Tommy DeVito loves to take sacks. That's his specialty. So I'm not really going to base it on last year, but the offensive line's a concern. That's why me and Evan were talking about addressing your offensive line in this draft and every draft. Take a guard, take a tackle, especially with your first 4 picks somewhere, especially, 34, 65, and 99. Somewhere in there, I want possibly a couple offensive linemen because it's obviously a need for them, and their depth has been horrible. So I do agree with Michael to an extent. And it is a good question, but I'm not going to worry about it at this point. I'm just not. I'm going to wait and see what happens. But at least with Russell Wilson, they're a much more capable team than what they had prior. I think Michael will at least agree with that. What's his next comment? There are a lot of good players who don't get drafted. You can still store on the practice squad. Exactly, and groom them. And that's something you can do. You got to look for that pool, and you can have more. I think more practice squad players this year than you did in previous years. I think that changed last season. But I think, like I said, I'm excited for the draft. And if we can get Abdul Carter, I think that'd be awesome. He's an impact player. You can plug him in right away with Tibbs, Dexter Lawrence. Uh, I think that and Burns, I think it would be a solid fit for us.
I agree. Like you said, I agree with Mike. You can't get nothing done without building up the trenches first.
I agree
But
with him.
that's
It's a
where
problem for us.
that we have over the last 2 years spent money on the offensive line. You want to know why Saquon's going? Because they chose to build up the offensive line instead of paying him.
I mean, it would have been nice, obviously, if they could have done it for Saquon, and that should have been their only focus.
Yeah,
and it's too bad they had Daniel Jones. It would have been nice if we actually had a quarterback that was had some kind of elite traits or close. You know what I'm saying? And unfortunately, that just didn't happen. And it's been a brutal 6 years. Like I said, I think Wilson just gives us a breath of fresh air. That's all. We'll have to wait and see if it's a disaster or not. Knowing the Giants and their history and how long it's been since we've been in the playoffs and how many struggles they've had, consecutive seasons now, it's a lot of people have that thinking of thinking the worst. But you got hope for the best. Expect the worst and hope for the best, right, Evan? That's all I can really say.
One thing I do want to say is I do not blame this on Daboll, and I do not blame this on Shane. Shane had to do what he had to do, and I understand
I think
why.
Daboll got stuck with Jones. I think they forced Jones on Daboll after 22. Crazy. I know that's what a lot of people say, but it makes the most logical sense to me.
Mm-hmm. I think they saw it as
Eagles did it with Mailata. Yes, Mailata. Yep.
Exactly.
He's a good offensive. Like I said, I hate to say it, but I'm very impressed with what the Eagles have done, especially that offensive line has been really, really good for a good amount of seasons now. And it would be nice if we could get some consistency in that position or that unit, have the same unit play all year.
They're gonna these next 20 picks. They're gonna rebuild those players that are leaving.
Oh, the Eagles will trade a good amount of those picks to move up and move up for players and stuff like that, because that's what you get the assets for. They're not going to pick all 20 players, but they're going to use some of those assets without a doubt to move up, to plug holes and get players for the future that could develop. And they're just a master class. So it'd be nice if we did, but you also have to draft a quarterback. I agree, Michael. And that's why I'm saying I think that at 3, I don't know if I want to take a quarterback if Carter is there. But if Carter and Hunter go 1 and 2, then I think I would take a quarterback, right? Right, Evan? If Carter and Hunter go, I'm taking quarterback.
Yeah,
if Carter is there, I'm taking Carter. If Ward was there, that's a tough decision for them.
If Carter and what's called go 1 and 2, then I wouldn't mind taking Mason Graham either. Like I wouldn't mind that pick at all.
I wouldn't mind taking Mason Graham also. But that's like I said, like you said, do they love Ward and Sanders? Like how high are Ward and Sanders on their draft board? And now that they have Wilson, and I can't say it's definitely in the top 10, because they've paid a lot of attention, especially to Sanders. Could be a smokescreen, might not be. But we'll have to see what happens in front of us. Most likely Ward goes number 1, but I'm really interested to see what the Browns are going to do. Hunter or Ward or Sanders.
that I forgot to mention. Mara being what's his name? Oh yeah. Mara being more heavily involved now.
Kind of
I
don't like that, to be
I
honest.
do, because I'll tell you the reason why I do like it, because everybody's saying, like, he told Shane how he felt. Like, hey, I don't want Saquon going to the Eagles. I
Oh my
really wouldn't
god.
want that.
Well, you gotta remind me of that little
And
video clip.
yeah, you know, he still sat by and let Shane do what he needed to do. He is not an interfering GM. And
Yeah.
everybody who leaves the Giants, Odell had said it, Eli said it, Tiki said it. The Mara family has respected them all, had always treated them well. Every player says
I'd say
the
so.
Mars treat them well. I think the Mars need to get back into that. I think he needs to take a little bit more control over it. And if he's, not to the point where he's interfering, but he needs to have his voice heard more. And he needs to be told and assured better of what they are doing.
Let's hope all
If they
goes
were going to
well.
let Saquon go, you need to look at him and tell him the reason why you were letting him go, or you're not going
Yeah,
to match his offer,
they
and
definitely
what
could have
your view
handled
is
it.
for the future. And I don't think that was been done. That's why he came out and said it this offseason. I'm getting real impatient with these rebuilds because
He's
he
right.
has done nothing but sat back and
Yep.
exactly what we
And,
tell everybody.
and
Let the
he
GM do
tore his
their job.
ACL. He tore his ACL. And like I said, I'm happy for Barkley, but like I said, I'm kind of not happy how it ended and how they didn't give him the offensive line that he deserved to have. It just baffles my mind that the Giants haven't been able to fix that yet. It's
And
just unbelievable.
out of everybody,
Unbelievable.
I'll say this now. Out of every team, the Giants have struggled the worst finding offensive linemen. They've scored one out of the last 10 years. Out of every one of them they drafted. But you
Yeah.
have teams like the Eagles, the Chiefs, the Browns rebuilt their offensive line. They were always horrible for a while.
Yes, they did.
They're finding people in the fourth, fifth, sixth round.
Yeah.
So it just comes to find out, like they don't have the eye for the talent of offensive line. So
Exactly. And I'm gonna get to it. I got another comment here. 1 second, Michael. Michael says, I think your Giants should go offensive line or defensive tackle. At number 3, I would be happy going Graham at 3, but only if Carter or Hunter are not there. But I
I
do
would go
think they
Graham
should
at
take
3
offensive
if
line
Hunter and
and defensive tackle to put someone next to Lawrence without a doubt. Without a
only
doubt,
reason
I
I say
think that's
Graham at
smart.
3 besides Hunter and Carter is because we need help with the run stop. We have
Oh
been last in the
yeah,
run stop for the last 3 years, 4 years, and we haven't been ranked that high.
but
Well, we've been ranked that high for about fucking 10 years. We've had been horrible against the run.
remember, you could get a good defensive tackle to put next to Lawrence at 34
But you're
easily.
also getting a national championship guy.
Dude, but if you get, I get that. But if you get Abdul, you're talking about if Abdul Carter
Yes, if
and
Abdul
Hunter are
Carter
gone.
and Hunter are gone.
Yes. If Abdul Carter or Hunter are gone, they don't want a quarterback. I'm taking Mason Graham. Absolutely.
I think Mason Graham is the next pick. I like Will
In that
Howard, but
scenario,
I like the guy from Oregon better. I do.
Connerly, yes.
I like Connerly better. I do.
And if
I
he
think
is
he's a
there,
good second
if
round pick.
Connerly is there at 34, I'd be happy as shit with that pick. I'd be happy as hell.
That's if he gets passed up by the Eagles, which I hear the Eagles
If he gets past them, yes, because the Eagles, they always want offensive line. It's not necessarily a need for them, but what are they going to do with their first pick? I don't know. Michael might be able to say, I don't know what they're going to do with their first pick. I got no idea.
Yeah. Like I said, I think it's a good pick. If those two are gone, like I wouldn't pick Mason Graham over Abdul Carter, and I
No.
wouldn't pick him over Travis Hunter. But if both of
No.
those are gone, I don't mind taking him because he's a national champion. He's also played on a stout defense.
Mason Graham is an automatic impact player like Dexter Lawrence, that type of level. And putting him next to Lawrence would definitely help your run defense without a doubt. And I'd be happy with that. But like I said, only in a certain scenario. It
Yeah.
all depends on the scenarios and stuff like that. But a lot of people feel it's got to be Carter. And as Giant fans, I think we'd be happy as hell with Abdul Carter. You watch him because you're a Penn State fan, so you know
He's
firsthand
explosive.
how
Explosive.
how 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 good he can be, and his talent is sky high, man. Like Parsons type level. Like he's that talented. I think. Let's not screw it up again.
So we got a few sponsors before we leave, but we want to get them into you.
Yeah, we got got just one actually. Hold on a second.
Cool.
Oh, hold on. Comment first. Dan Pullman says, I see T.M. Moore goes 1 to Tennessee. We both, I think me and Evan agree with that. Hunter goes to the Browns. Carter goes to the Giants. Will Johnson to the Pats. I think that'd be a great pick for the Patriots. Banks, Johnson, one of those guys. Graham to the Jags. Like I said, Mason Graham is an elite prospect.
Yeah.
So I don't know if and you could always use a good defensive tackle like that. And Sanders to the Raiders. That's what it seems to be. It seems like that's going to be his destination, unless we do something stupid and take him. Even though it would be stupid, but it wouldn't be my favorite pick, even though I do like the player. Eagles first round pick, defensive line, or edge. Yeah. I say edge. You could get Spence, Jr. from Tennessee.
Yeah.
Or Shamar Stewart. You could take a Shamar Stewart if you're the Eagles for edge. There's some good edge players, man, and we'll see who falls down to there. But just gotta do one sponsor here, and then we're gonna end the stream. I'm very excited for a draft. When I heard 1, 2, 3, give it to your lawyer. Slip and fall. I need some legal help. Give them a call. When I heard 1, 2, 3, attorney Big Al Jason Fine. They have 3 locations: Philadelphia, Pennsylvania area, Cherry Hill, New Jersey, and Pittsburgh, PA. So give them a call if you ever need any help, any legal trouble. Once again, 1-800-HURT 123. Attorney Big Al Jason Fine. All right, Evan. Well, draft preview is over. We're going to do a draft stream next week. So very excited for the draft. I've got a couple more comments here. Where does McMillan go?
See, that's like some of them have
rounds?
fallen to, some
he could go to the Jags. The Raiders if Sanders isn't there. Gianti's going to the Raiders probably, maybe too.
If Gianti goes to the Raiders, I can see Dallas picking him up as a second piece.
I could see the Panthers.
That's another option right there also, yeah.
If he gets to the Bears or the 49ers. If he got to 12, which I doubt it, he'd go into Dallas. But I think the Jags would be a good spot for McMillan.
But what about, all right, we do have, the Dallas does have a lot of holes, but I think they want to revamp that offense first.
I agree with that.
There's a lot of defensive talent. So you go Tet at 12, and then you move up, get Omarion Hampton in the early second.
Yeah, Omarion Hampton I really like, but McMillan I like, and I think he does go top 10. Maybe the Jets if a Sanders isn't there.
Yeah.
I know the Panthers need another weapon. I know the 49ers need another weapon after losing Samuel. If he gets that far.
Yeah, true.
One more comment, and then we're going to end the stream here. Michael says, just remember TJ Watt's name. The only thing about Watts is you have to watch the injury he had. Oh, not Watts. Watts is the cornerback. I'm thinking of Mills. TJ Watts is a good cornerback prospect, Michael. Sorry, my mistake. He's good. TJ Watts would be a good pick. TJ Watts is a cornerback prospect. Corner for the Eagles. They always like good corners.
You sure he's not talking about
from what? Notre Dame.
I'm thinking of
is that where he goes?
Pittsburgh.
No, TJ Watts, the prospect. Come on, man. All right,
I was
everybody.
like, wait,
Thank you
TJ
for-
Watt's going to play for the Eagles? What?
No, it's not TJ. It's just Watts with an S. All right, but thank you for joining us on Big Blue Power Hour. We will be back next week, 8:30 p.m. around. Thank you everybody for watching. Give us a like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the draft show. We have Silver and Black Layer coming up, talking about the Raiders. I think coming up at 10 p.m. Join Ken Fry. And we'll see you all next week. And thank you for joining Big Blue Power. Everybody have a good night and have a good weekend. Have a happy Easter, everybody.
Happy Easter, guys.